Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masatas Bava Kama, Daf Samach Zayin. We're going to begin on the bottom of Samach Vava Medbeis, Bahari Marish. So we were learning the question when it comes to Yish alone, is that a Kinyan? So we ended up saying a Shini Maisa is a Kinyan. And in yesterday's daf, we concluded that a Shini Hashem together with Yish also works. Bahari Marish. When it comes to a beam, the Ikashini Hashem, there is a change in the name. Dimikara Kshura. Originally it's called a Kshura, and then Vahash Talala. And then afterwards, when it's put into your house, it's called Talala, which is similar to an Asukkas to Matalatala. So Rashi says, Gag, it's considered like part of the roof. Once it's put in your house, Vanoisin Alav Tikras Nasarim, the Aliyah, and you put all these other things around it, this pitch and the like, so therefore it changes its name. So if it's a Shini Hashem, so you should be kainin. Utanan alamarish hagazel, if you stole this beam, shabanoi babir, and you put it into your house, shanoitel damov. So the din is that you only have to pay back the value of this beam, mipnei tekanas hashavim, because the din of tekanas hashavim, it's only time of tekanas hashavim, because again you built this into your house, let's say a foundation beam, and you're not going to remove this very beam because you're going to destroy your whole house. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'll never do tshuva. So the Chachamim were lenient when it comes to, they call it the Kanas Maresh, but it's the same thing as the Kanas Hashamim, that in order to be able to get people to do tshuva, they said, you know what, we'll be lenient in this case. But why? Says the Gemara, Samach Zayin Amud Aleph, Halav Hachi Hadu Be'enei. Otherwise, if there was no takana, you would have to return it. The question is why? There's Shini Hashem. So obviously Shini Hashem doesn't work. So Rav Yosef, Maresh Shemo Olav. The truth is, you told that the name Maresh, it was always a Marish. It didn't change its name. Even though it's true, it's given another name, but it's still called a Marish. The Sanya, as we learn, the pasuk says, Salois Habayis, regarding to the ribs of the house, which is referring to in the Beis HaMikdash, Elu ha-milatatim. This is referring to the milatatim, which you put the beams around it, around by the opening of the windows, as Rashi says. Va'oivim, when it says va'oivim, Elu hamarishim. These are referring to the cross beams. So even though it's true that it's part of the Beis HaMikdash, so you would certainly say it's considered to now be a talala, but it's still called in the pasuk marishais. So therefore, if a Shini Hashem has to be not just you have a new name, like you hyphenate your name, like, which is an interesting point, it has to be you've completely changed your name. You've completely changed your name. Its name. Rav Zera Omer Shini HaChaytzel B'Riyaso B'Shini Hashem Lo Yahavi Shinoi. If you have something in which, even though it does change its name, but if you could take the beam and rip it out of your house, it goes back to its original name, then that's not considered to be a shinoi. That is not a shinoi. Fine. We'll look at question 13. Well, my istrach tekanas maresh, the mikar maresh will save talala. So one answer is lav shinoi hashem hu dahash denami shmo damaresh lolav. It's still called a marish. Or it's a Shini Chayzel B'Riyasai, since it can go back to its original way and it will go back to its original name, that's not considered to be a Shini Hashem. V'Shini Hashem Sheinu Chayzel B'Riyasai Mihavi Shinoi. Is it true though that if you have a Shini Hashem that cannot go back to its original way, you're telling me that's a Shinoi? V'Harit Sinor. How about when it comes to a pipe? Dimikara Ketzitsta. Originally, it's just called a block of wood, Vahashtet Sinaira, and now it has a different name. It's called a pipe. So we see that there's a Shini Hashem, Vatanya, but nonetheless we learned Sinor Shachak Kai. If you have a pipe that was carved out, Ulbasayf Kavai, and then only afterwards you were kaveh it into the ground in order for rainwater to go through it, Paisalas a mikvah. That will passel the mikvah. That rainwater will still be called mayim shuavim. That's still considered to be drawn water. And mayim shuavim passels the mikvah. for the first 40 saw. After the 40 saw, okay, fine, you can have mayim shuavim in it, but once you can turn on water afterwards. But the original mem saw has to be made shavim. So therefore, you can't have a tzinor that was already done and then carved out. However, kavul b'sayv chakakai enim chaisel samikva. However, if you carved it, if you first put it into the ground and then you carved it out, then it's okay. Because Rashi says lav klihu. When you put it into the ground, it was not yet a kli. El ara smichtehi. It's like part of the ground. So therefore, it will not passel the mikvah. Now, if Hashini Hashem milsehi, if Hashini Hashem actually does something, we should say it shouldn't make any difference. Even if you put it into the ground first and then you carved it out, that should also passel it because it changed its status. It's not part of the ground. It's a Shini Hashem. So Shani Shiva Dimitra Rabbananhi. So we say that Shiva is different. What passels a mikvah with 3 lugin of Maim Shuavim, that all is the Din Rabbanan. So you can't ask kasha on mikvois because that's a Din Rabbanan, the dinim over here of Maim Shuavim. Ihachi fil duration nami. If that's the case, so why originally, if you took the pipe and carved it out, then put it into the ground, so why are we strict there? Because hasam ikataris kliyalav, betolish. Hacha ein taris kliyalav betolish. The din is just posha when it comes to dinim of mikvah, that when it's detached from the ground, it cannot be a kli. But once it's already mechobel a karka, if you carve it, it's like you're digging into the ground. So therefore, it's not like considered to be a kli halachically when it comes to dinim of mayim shuavim. Meisvei, Hagan of Hagazan, when you have these different thieves, V'ha'anos. What's an anos? Rashi says a chamson, the yoyev dmei. You paid for it, but it was done unwillingly, and even though we say Tolav Zvina, 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 so the question is if it's eventually Baratzon, Hekdesh and Hektish. So the din is the Hektish is a good Hektish. In other words, V'asul Hanos. If, let's say, someone stole or all these things, and then they were makdish something, it's because they're kainit. Utrumas and truma. If they give truma, it's a good truma, and therefore it's going to be asur for non-kohanim. And therefore we see that in Gazlan, Masrais and Meiser. So as Rashi says, Alma, we see Kani Leilig Zela Biyish. So Amr Hasam, Ikashini Hashem. The reason why it's kaina over here, you're right, is not because of Yesh alone, but in Mikaran, Tivla. Originally it was called Tevel, the Hashta Truma. It's something different. Hektish, Mikar Chulun, the Hashta Hektish. It has changed its name. So therefore, Shini Hashem together with the Yish, that works, but not Yish by itself. Amr Rav Chesed, Amr Rav Yona's son, Menayin L'Shini Shehu Kaina. How do I know, as we said before, that Shini works? Shini Maisa. Shnemer Heshav is Gzela. So Matam Namasher Gazel, that we stole. So as we said before, Im Ke'in Gazel Yachzer. If you have the item the way it was originally, it didn't change, so you have to give back that very same thing. Bim Lav, which is Mash from the Pasuk, otherwise, Damim Ba'alma Boy Shlume. All you need to do is pay back its value. In fact, Gemara, Hayasher Gazal, you're telling me that's what we use this pasuk for? Miboy, we need it. Miboyle, we mute Gezel Aviv. Let's say a person who stole from his father, says Rashi, it says later on, Bahagaizel, Befarish Afilu Nishma Aviv L'Sheker. Even if the father, there's Shvur Sheker over there, Aval Karen Machayivle Kra. There's going to be a chiyuv of Karen, but that's it. She'enu Moisef Chaimish Al Gezel Aviv. When the son pays back that which his father stole, so even though normally he would have to pay back the kefel or the chaimish, in this case, let's just read what the Gemara says. He doesn't have to pay. He normally would have to pay back. You'd have to pay back chaimish. There's Karen chaimish for asham. Nonetheless, over here, you don't have to, because it's only asher gazal. You only have to return that which you stole. But if you're fixing your father's mistake, fine, give back the Karen, but there's no din chaimish. So I thought we learned that from this pasuk. Asher Gazel Wamali Lemichtav Shema Mina Tarti. So we actually learn out two things from that pasuk. Some say Rav Chesam Rav Yonasan Benayin L'Shini She'enu Kaina. Whoa. There's actually an opinion that Shini Maisa doesn't work. Shenemar. You always have to return it. On your own gazelle, you have to return a fifth as well. In Maisa Chaimish al Gezel Aviv. So it's unbelievable that there's this sheet that you actually would. There's no din of Shini Maisa. Omer Ula. So, like the opinion of Rav Yosef on Samach Vav Amud Aleph, Menayin Liyah She'enu Kaina. How do I know that Yir Shalom doesn't work? Shenemar, the pasuk says, this is also going to in Sukkah, V'havesem Gozel es hapiseach es hachayla. So a person is bringing as a carbon, which Hashem doesn't want, something which is stolen, or something which is a piseach, an animal which has something wrong with one, it's limbs, that it's lame, or it's a sick animal. So gozel dim de piseach, ma piseach the leis like the kanta klal. When it comes to an animal which has a mum, some terrible problem with its body, it can never be fixed. As we continue samach zayin beis, must be the same thing here. Av gozel the leis like the kanta. There's no takana. There's no way a gazlan could ever give this carbon. So we see from here a raya that there is no din yish. It doesn't matter. Even after yish, you can't. Amos. You can learn out from here. It says you have to bring your carbon, not a stolen carbon. Amos. It's not yours. Obviously, you can't bring it. So we see from over here that it is not a good kinyan. What are you talking about? We had this question before. On the previous daf, we said that there's two pshatim in Rashi. Let's just do pashut pshat. The second pshat in Rashi is that it's talking about li'achayish. We say kol heichad isa begazer rachman isa. It's you can't learn out from a carbon. By a carbon, yeah, it doesn't. You can't be kind it. But maybe in normal situations you can. So how do you learn on a raya that yish is not kaina ba'alma? So imoy seima hadabei. You can either say he retracted from that original statement. V'imoy seima chayd minayu Rav Papa amra. One of them is Rav Papa. In other words, it's possible that this opinion is not. It's not the same person, basically. Okay. Question 14. Avesim goes on to say, Ketzad hevi oila Allah raya. How do we bring a proof from this pasuk regarding yish? So he says, Gozol domi de pisech. Ma pisech the leis leit the kanta. Av gozol the leis leit the kanta. V'af lachar yish pasol al yish enu kaina. That was question 14. Okay. Weiter. Actually, let's look at question TA 25 before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Hagana vagazlin trumas and truma madua. Why does it work? So one answer is must be TA 25 because yish alone works, or no, the reason why it works is that he can be his truma is a good truma is not a raya that Gazela, that he's kind of like Gazela b'Yeyush, but rather it's because originally there was a Shina Hashem as well. The Mikara Tiva V'Hashta Truma. So that's the reason behind that. Okay, let's continue. Samach Zayin Beis. So the Gemara continues like this. So when it comes to Dalad V'Hei, we say it's only on a Shorna Chamor. When it comes to Kefil, Maruba, Midas Tashumi Kefil, because it's knowing even something which is not alive. Yamai, Nail Shor Meshabis. Let's learn out Exer Shava from Shabbos. Malaho and Chayav Of, Kiyaitz Behen. Why don't we say it's more inclusive? Avkan Chayav Of, Kiyaitz Behen. Why do you want to say it's only a shor v'seh, there's other animals you can't use on Shabbos, just like it says Shor V'Seh there. So when you say over here, there's a din Tvicha Mechira on other animals too. So Rabbi Mikra, Shor V'Seh, Shnei Pam. It says it twice. Shor V'Seh in Midachrina lo. The fact that it repeats it means Dafka those. So Amri Haimiyater. Which ones are extra? Ilema Shor V'Seh the Seifa Miyater. Are these two words extra in the Seifa, the second time it's mentioned? Now, denichta rachmana, because the Torah could have written ki yignav shor seh utavacho macharay, that when you stole a shor seh, slaughtered and sold it, chamisha bakar yisham tachtav, the arbet sayin tachtav. So it doesn't have to say again tachas ashor, tachas aseh, it could just say tachtav. So ikas rachman hachi would have said that havamina boy shlumi tisha. Maybe you would think 4 and 5 is 4 plus 5 is 9. What do you mean? It says under it, chad tachtav miyater. So one of them is extra. We need the tachtav for another drasha. If you stole a shor that's worth $100, you show him tachtav nigidin. Tachtav. You would think you can pay back negidim. Rashi says gavim, like carcasses, animals that are close to die. So no, you're supposed to bring back tachtav, basically what it was. Now Shor said the reisha. So those Shor say you need. Otherwise, you would think you have to pay back 9, and the second tachtav you would maybe think negidim. El Shor said the reisha miuter. It's actually the shor instead of the beginning of the pasuk is extra. Why? Because this is how the pasuk could have written. So ikas. So therefore, it could have said that. So therefore, those two extra words are coming to tell you that's dafka shor and said nothing else. No ikas havamina ad the gun of tray v'tavach lahu. Maybe you would think they have to steal both. Utvachai ksib utvachai. It says you slaughter it. Maybe it means you have to steal both and sell. No, it says 1, so you wouldn't make that mistake. Maybe you would think the gun of tray. You have to, if you stole both, you shechted one of the two you stole, and the other one you sold. No, it says so you wouldn't think you have to do both. It says either one. Vekati havamina adigan of tervayu. Maybe you would think you have only when you steal both. But tavachad umeshayir chad umezamin chad meshayir chad, where you slaughter one or you sell one. But which is true, but it's only when you're only chayv when you stole 2. No, so that's why the truth is these words are necessary. So we don't find that these are extra words still to make a diak to mamayit any other animal. El is short is safe of a sederation miyater. Interesting. The shor mentioned at the end of the pasuk and the set at the beginning, those are extra. The nichta rachmana, the Torah could have said ki yignav ish shor, when you shech the shor, tvacho machar, and you shech the slaughter. Chamisha baki yishom tachtav, which will be the shor. The arbet son tachas aseh, and then you have the seh, which is mentioning again in the Seifa. So short the Seifa of said the racial lamali shmamina shor v'seh in midachrina lo. So therefore, that's how we learn out that it's dafka. This you can't learn a gzer shav from Shabbos. That's more inclusive. Here it's dafka. A shor and said there's a din of tvicha mechira paying dal v'hei, and by no other animal. Adkan.